And are there rounds coming down straight away, Tony? Can you build a picture? Can you describe the scene for me?
Hell. Absolutely horrendous. I think everybody on that hill was firing at me. That's what it felt like. I can't, the rounds, ammunition being fired was unbelievable. The tracer, they were putting up illumination shells that were making weird noises. I think it was from the cases that were falling. And bullets everywhere. You could see the peat all being, with the rounds hitting the peat, all struck, and it's all around you. Absolutely horrendous.
We shake out in single file because the sheep track is narrow. If you imagine a steep rock up to our right and then it falls away to the left. We come out from the rocks, the two lads in front are leading. I'm about fourth in line, there's a guy in front of me. And as we come down, literally about 25, 30 feet in front of us, there's a big rock and there's a gap between the rock on its own. Sheep track goes between that and the rock face. And an Argentinian soldier stands up and he actually says, "Hey, hombre." And he just, from the hip, lets fly a full magazine. Bearing in mind, they've got automatic weapons, ours was single shot. The two lads in front split, take cover. The lad, unfortunately, in front of me was killed. He took quite a few rounds. I was diving for cover and I got hit. The round went through my side, through my left lung, hit the front ribs and bounced back out again through my back. I ended up rolling down into this open patch, and then the next thing I know, up in the rocks above, there's 2 or 3 Argentinians who then start shooting down into me. Classic ambush zone. I'm in the kill zone. Start return fire back at them, and then all of a sudden the blood comes pouring out my nose, out my mouth. My lungs collapsed. So I just then lay there, put my head in my hands, and think, "Hey ho, here we go." Like, you know, I had rounds landing between me. I had one go between my elbow and my head. And the next thing then, the two lads that I'd basically tabbed across the island with come out from cover, brought themselves into the kill zone, grabbed me and dragged me into cover.
Saved your life.
Yeah, definitely.
On the 11th of June 1982, British troops in the Falklands were preparing surprise night attacks on a series of heavily defended mountains around Port Stanley. The Argentinians now realized that they were under attack. Rifle and machine gun fire, mortars and grenades rained down on the British troops.
It was a gutter fight in the dark, close quarter fighting. Argentines were fighting from behind rocks, a case of throwing grenades over rocks, going around, one man going, other men covering them. Range of visibility really quite short.
Eventually, our section got pinned down by 2.5 machine guns close to the summit, and some riflemen. And for a while, we were actually, you know, they had actually gained the momentum and gained the initiative from us.
Three para should have swept over Longdon, but there was a nest of conscripts around a 50 caliber machine gun halfway along it who said, "Nah, you're not taking this hill just yet." And that's all it took. I mean, you can be as hard as nails and as well equipped as you like, but if you come up against people who are prepared to stand their ground, you're going to lose, man.
I remember the moon being out, and I could see the silhouette of this mountain, and for some strange reason, it reminded me of like a haunted castle with a silvery sky behind it. It was quite bizarre. And I remember thinking, that's my nemesis, I have to conquer that.
I can remember my Sergeant Major turning around and saying, "If you've got anyone you might want to speak to." And I thought, yeah. And I know he was talking about, he said, "You might want to go and pray, because some of us will not see tomorrow, or will not see the sunrise." I know I did. I just sort of went, you know, been a bad boy, bad Catholic, I suppose. And, you know, can someone look after us tonight?
As I was walking, every step I could feel, every sinew, every muscle fibre strike up. I could feel the sweat coming out of each pause. My body was so alive. I've never ever experienced that before. Everything was alive, and I was just waiting for that bang.
The British were tired, cold, and hungry. They now faced the most challenging battles of the war.
It was pretty close, because guys were going down all around you. At one stage, we were going, me and another colleague were going up, and next thing he just dropped. And he'd been shot right in the eye there with a 50 caliber machine gun. No chance, he was totally dead.
The noise was incredible. The screaming of people giving orders being sort of overlaid by the screams of people who were hurt. The screams of people carrying out assaults and motivating themselves to go forward. And the noise was just tremendous. Everybody was firing. Everybody. It was at this stage that Corporal McLaughlin was given a command to actually, right, go and get our wounded, get our boys back, get up and go and get them. I moved out and I found, or ended up at, next to a young guy called Neil Gross. Neil was obviously in some discomfort. We got him onto a poncho and we carried him as best we could. There were lots of people trying to carry Neil, lots of people. Because he was in an awful lot of discomfort. So much it was just really sad. It was actually his 18th birthday.
Neil Gross died soon afterwards. 2 17-year-olds were also killed during the battle for Longdon, and 19 other paras lost their lives.
The 600 men of 3 para planned a surprise attack on Mount Longdon under cover of darkness. At its base lay an Argentine minefield, clearly marked today. In 1982, it was not. What followed was never filmed, but the battle for Mount Longdon has been reconstructed using the stories of the men who fought there.
We were told in no uncertain terms that some of us, indeed, would not be seeing the sunrise the next day. And I said ta-ra to a couple of my friends who indeed didn't see the sunrise the next day.
With the grim order to fix bayonets, the paras advanced silently up Mount Longdon.
The initial advance towards the foot of the mountain was silent and without event until a corporal in B Company hit a mine.
The blast blew the man's leg off. All surprise was lost.
What came down was like blackboard illuminations as people woke up, got out their trenches, and started opening up with their various weapons. Realising we were in a minefield, as we were running to try and get to some cover, the fire was increasing all the time.
The 150 men of B Company leading the charge met a deadly hail of bullets.
I just kept going, kept walking into this hell in front of me. You either fight or you run away from it. It was an intense feeling of fear. My stomach was really knotted tight. My legs felt heavy and stiff. You suddenly sort of switch into this role of almost like a robotic machine fighting forward. Men going in, eyeball to eyeball, bayonet to bayonet.
Despite their weeks on the freezing mountain, the conscripts put up stiff resistance. After 3 hours of hand-to-hand fighting, B Company, spearheading the attack, was still pinned down by a heavy caliber machine gun.
Because they were so well established in these rocky positions, they simply could not be shifted. There were some very dark moments, bearing in mind this was the most intense experience of battle that any of us had ever had. And there were moments when one thought, what the hell more do we have to do to win this?
After the fierce hand-to-hand night battle on Mount Longdon, the men of 3 Para were being pounded by heavy Argentine shelling.
These artillery barrages were very intense, and it was very, very frightening. In fact, I sometimes wonder, you know, what was more frightening, actually fixing bayonets and walking up that mountain, or actually sitting there and having to take this bombardment. You don't have any control of your destiny, and it's literally lady luck, you know, whether you survive it or not.
When he volunteered to collect new maps and a resupply of cigarettes, Denzel Connick's luck ran out.
I wanted to, in a way, selfishly, secure my own ration of cigarettes. That's when I got caught out in the open with a shell. So I ended up smoking a lot more than I expected, really. There was hardly any warning. It was just a rush of air, a screaming noise, and bang, that was it. Took off my left leg from the hip.
Connick was hit by a 105mm shell. The 2 paratroopers with him were killed.